Hey guys, my name is Eric and I'm the founder of Nutrivy, a health supplement company. So today I'd like to share with you six mistakes that I made in starting my first e-commerce company and some of the learnings that I had so you can take that away and don't make these mistakes when you're starting your next business. So let's get into it. The first mistake was spending too much money on things that don't matter. So, as a first time business person, when you're trying to launch your first business, you don't really know what is adding value to the business. You hardly know your business yourself, and there's no brand, and you're still quite new to this. So, it's quite possible that sometimes you spend money on things that you think matter but don't really matter. So, some examples could include like having expensive website custom built for you, and having business cards, product inserts, very expensive logos, packaging, branding, the whole brand exercise. So a lot of things that are purely driven by speculation. You don't want to spend money on things that don't matter in the early days because when you're starting your first business, especially if you have not had a business before, you're probably starting with not a lot of capital. So it's important to be as efficient with that capital as possible, and everything you do should be geared towards getting the product out and getting some feedback from the market and making sales. So so this is one key thing to keep in mind is don't spend too much money up front. When building a website, can you get away with designing it yourself? Can you use Shopify instead of WordPress? Can you get a cheaper logo? Can you find the cheapest tools? Can you do some of the branding work yourself? So really try to cut costs as much as possible and stay lean and efficient. You can always come back and improve it. The second mistake was spending too much time with the wrong suppliers or wasting time. Suppliers are one of the hardest people to deal with. If you're watching this and trying to launch an e-commerce business, you're probably speaking to suppliers in China, in America, in the UK, in Europe, or whatsoever. And there's a very strong difference between like good suppliers and bad suppliers. So how do you identify bad suppliers? They are the people who won't like communicate with you very efficiently. You have to chase them. They don't respond to your calls, no your emails. You have to send two, three reminders to get like a quote or a price. They're very vague in their communication, and they're not really looking to help you. And what they do is a lot of the suppliers, when they get too big, they want to dismiss away small brand new companies. So you have to be very careful when you work with them because they generally give you like a throwaway price, a very basic price, which is normally 2 or 3x normal price what they would give their better customers. So this is basically a price telling you to go away, because they're just throwing it out there. If they're lucky, if you buy it, then they'll just make like an easy profit. So that's one thing. Seeing a throwaway price, then very poor communication, low responsiveness, not responding to calls, refuse to have a call with you, and also don't help you or give you any advice. That's how you identify, give you very long lead times. So these are some of the things that are characteristics of a bad supplier. What are the characteristics of a good supplier? On the other hand, they'll help you, they'll give you lower minimum order quantities because they know that you're just starting out and you can't like order 10,000 units to begin with. So they'll give you a lower MOQ. They'll give you nice competitive pricing. They'll work with you. They'll help you to make the product better. They will, they'll buy into your vision most likely. That's why they, want to work with you, and they'll treat you like, like a guest. They'll treat you like one of the customers rather than just like some random person. So that's how you identify. So don't waste too much time on the bad suppliers, but you have to go through a lot of bad suppliers to find the good ones. Learn to identify bad suppliers in the beginning, and don't waste your time on that. Just move on to the next supplier because you don't know when the next one can be the good one. The third mistake was trying to reinvent the wheel. So when I started Nutrivy, I was very passionate about sustainable packaging, and I went around looking for sustainable packaging manufacturers, and initially planned to use like a pouch instead of using the tubs. And when you went to see pouches, right, I was trying to brainstorm and understand the difference between composite pouches and different types of recycling and what could be recycled. And I really went down the rabbit hole. I didn't pay attention to the advice I was given as to get the product out and selling. Even from the good suppliers were telling me like just get it out and selling. We can always come back and work on some of this packaging and improve it later down the line. What I met instead was I spent weeks trying to understand good packaging, faced with really high minimum order quantities, very high costs, like double, triple that of normal packaging as well, which were some of the mistakes. And going back in hindsight, there's some things I will not try to reinvent the wheel. So when people give you advice, especially good suppliers and mentors, like take that advice and don't try to reinvent the wheel. Especially when you've got little capital, you haven't proven your product, you haven't got customers, you haven't made sales. So be careful with that, and get out, get selling. Whatever you do should be geared towards get selling. The fourth point and the fourth mistake I made was taking too long to launch. As a tech person myself, and a lot of us who are trying to be perfect, we want the product to look as perfect as possible. We want it to be as the branding to be spot on, the packaging, the formulas, the design, everything. But we have to face it. We're not Elon Musk, or we're not launching like the next Tesla. And we don't have that kind of backing or capital behind us. We're starting off mostly with bootstrapped money. So you want to get to market as soon as possible, because you don't know whether what you're selling people are going to like it. You don't know your value proposition, the communication you'll have with your audience, whether they'll like what you're selling, whether what you think is good about the product, the advantages, whether the customer thinks the same. You don't know any of this before you start selling. It's 100% speculation. You can go with some data from Amazon and use tools and read some reviews and Trustpilot and Amazon reviews, but at the end of the day, you don't know what they're going to say about your product and whether that's going to resonate with them for them to make the purchase and transact. So taking to launch, it just makes your life more difficult, and puts more sort of money on the table, and makes it more challenging because you don't know what you're up against and until you get out there. Launch as fast as possible. The fifth point and the fifth mistake I made was underestimating how hard it is to get customers and traffic. So a lot of people, when they build a website, an e-commerce website or an app or a software or something, they'll just assume that people are going to come to there. They're going to find your website in Google, and they're going to buy and transact your product with you and purchase your product, and all's good. But unfortunately, the real world doesn't work like that, because Facebook, Amazon, Google, these guys, they really control most of the traffic on the internet, and they want people to stay on their softwares, on their apps, on their websites for as long as possible. So they really control the amount of organic reach you have nowadays. They make it very easy for consumers to not receive spam and not hear from people they don't want to hear from. Example, aka advertisers. So that's why they have paid advertising. So you receive more relevant ads Facebook account. So while it's good for the consumer, it's incredibly difficult for the business, because if you don't pay for ads, like, it's very hard to get organic reach. So don't assume that if you're going to have the website, people are going to come. Like, everything is changing, everything is getting consumer centric nowadays, so you have to be very careful with what you do, and you have to have a strategy for acquiring customers and traffic. Whether this could be influencer marketing, it could be getting people, affiliates signed up, it could be one of the big things that I didn't do and I wish I had done is spend 12 months before launching the business actually creating content and building up an email list and getting a following and getting traffic. So it doesn't cost money to build a brand and start talking about something that you're passionate about, and so you can start to reach people and find people and DM them and say that I'm launching this product and it's coming out in 2 months or 1 month or 6 months, and I'll like your feedback when it's ready. And that, if you have that email list, you're in a much better position to launch the product than if you go in cold and hope for it to work. So always be careful. Don't underestimate the cost and the time and the effort it takes to get customers, to not only have to get their attention, but then even to trust you, like you, know you, and transact with you. So this is something that you should learn and start working on your traffic strategy even before you launch your business. The last and final point is not knowing your numbers. When I launched the business for the first time, I didn't even know I didn't know accountancy, and I didn't do accounting before. So I didn't know that there were 3 accounts that you need to know: the profit loss statement or the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. So I just looked at product cost, revenue, retail price, product cost, and advertising costs, and a few costs here and there, and I just made sure if the product is profitable, we're all good. Unfortunately, your business has a lot of other costs, like accountancy costs, software costs, server costs, advertising costs is a huge variable, and anything to do with running the business. So you have fixed costs, variable costs. I'm not going to go into the detail of the accountancy, but it's very important that you understand all the costs associated with the business and do some sort of projections or financial forecasts, so you know exactly what you're going to make, when you're going to make, and what's the best case scenario, what's the worst case scenario it can look like. Take an accountancy course or do a program of work with an accountant to understand how these things work, because if you don't know your numbers, it's very unlikely that you're going to succeed and you're going to have a healthy, profitable business. So know your books, know your numbers, and work out all possible costs as much as possible in advance before you launch the business. So there you go, guys. Here are 6 tips, 6 mistakes that I made and what I learned from them. and I was, I'm happy to share this value with you all, and hope you can apply this to your business and don't make the same mistakes. So if you found this useful, please like this video, subscribe it, share it across on Facebook or other social media platforms. It'll help reach more first-time e-commerce entrepreneurs who have not started businesses before. Avoid these mistakes. So please like, subscribe to this channel. Also follow my business channel Nutrivy, and if you have any feedback, any comments, please share that with me, and I'm happy to and I'll respond to all comments. So thanks guys, and I'll speak to you next time. Take care.